Hi, I'm Judy Tate. On behalf of the American Slavery Project and the New York Society for Ethical Culture, we welcome you to this special presentation of our 2021 Reverberations plays. Thank you to all of our supporters and viewers for joining us in this exciting virtual series. Be sure to stick around after the performance for a live scholar-led talkback, which will shed light on some of the ideas and themes in the play. We hope you enjoy the show and will meet us again for some other upcoming virtual premieres in the Reverberation plays. Please consider donating to ASP so we can continue the work that we do, creating theater that educates, entertains, and illuminates. Now on to the show.
Hi, Camille. This is Grandma. My phone says that you called me earlier this morning, and I just saw it. So give me a call when you can. Bye-bye.
Hey, it's Dad, Mom, and Courtney in the car driving together today. I'm dropping Mom off to her conference in Renaissance Center. Courtney goes to CAS, and then I pick her up tickets to a volleyball game. But we're here to support you and find out what happened yesterday. Come hell or high water, we're here for you. So if you hear this in the next 30 minutes, give us a shot. Bye.
Wait. You know I didn't want him to call you early in the morning like this, girl. I know you sleep. And if you weren't asleep, you would be texting. Okay, goodbye.
No, obviously, but we're all together, so you wouldn't have to tell us 3 different times. You just tell us one. But, all right, dear. Bye.
Hello, Camille. This is Bridget Redmond from Lansing State Journal. I was calling a little bit early. I'll try again in about 5 minutes, maybe 10. Thank you very much. Bye.
Hi, I'm Camille. I just wanted to say hi to all of my potential GoFundMe donors. I really didn't want to impose on everyone like this, but I've been sitting here alone every day, all day, on my school's bus for, today is January 7th, so an entire week, because I was disenrolled from my classes for being behind on my tuition payments. Like, really behind. I just wanted you all to know that even though I've been riding the same bus route around campus and haven't been allowed to attend my classes, I haven't fallen behind. I'm still keeping up with my classwork, but this is my protest, and it's important to me. It's just, school should never be this expensive. It's like, I wrap my last dollar around my waist like a corset and pull it until my stomach could eat my spine. Maybe now I can fool myself into believing I'm not thinking about my next meal all of the time. My last dollar doubles as dental floss. I clean my teeth looking for the day I bit off more loans than I could chew. I use it as a pad to line my underwear so I can keep this university from bleeding me dry. It also transforms into a tampon as I roll it up and shove it inside. Maybe if they discover I have money up my coochie, they'll realize that this student's body has worth. Or maybe I'll continue to be this institution's emotional piggy bank, stuffed with stories of sexual assault and increased tuition rates. shoved under the bed collecting dust in the corner until the day you need to smash it open for a smiling, happy black girl face to post on your pamphlets. Make sure you hang it up high. It that poster. It that picture. It that black girl. You think by now I'd have grown immune to my body being used as propaganda to show that everything is okay for everyone but me. I have become the most morbid piñata you have ever seen, beaten by classes that cost $555 per credit, trying to patch my holes with parking tickets as money drops out of me. The only thing that remains from my broken bank of a body is 4 quarters abandoned on the floor. Condescendingly, I was told to pick each one up and try to fashion it into a cape. But trust me, when you're drowning in debt, money don't come quick enough to save. And George has another chuckle at my expense, 'cause over 400 years later, I'm still shackled in his embrace. Strangled by late fees, which I still don't have the money to pay. So I start shoveling quarters into my mouth, 'cause when I was little, I was taught by teachers that you are what you eat. When I was little, I was taught if you got good grades, you could go to college and succeed. When I was little, I was taught that anyone could grow up to be anything. I should have known that schools taught lies when they said that Columbus discovered America. When they opened their university on Anishinaabe land that they claimed as their own. If my school discovers that I hold coins behind my lips, maybe they'll see that this student's body has worth. Or maybe they'll just mind my mouth and claim that land too. So I spit out 10 dimes before they can excavate behind my teeth. And so when they come with their guns disguised as goodwill, debt disguised as degrees, and smallpox-infected blankets disguised as something that's not smallpox-infected blankets, they will cut their greedy fingers on my fangs and find only this speech.
Hi, this message is for Miss Camille Thomas. Miss Camille, this is Dana Moore calling from the Office for Inclusion at Michigan State University. I'm calling from Paulette Granberry Russell's office. If you could give me a call, please, at your convenience, I'd greatly appreciate it. The number here is area code 517-353-3924. Again, that's 517-353-3924. Thank you. Bye.
Hi, Dr. Grand Russell. Thank you for seeing me on such short notice. This is about my outstanding student debt and my tuition protest. I'm a 5th year, but only because I'm double majoring. I'm getting my BFA in acting and my BA in arts and humanities. Well, I want to be an actor. Folks, I literally hate when people ask me the why question, because if they're not an art person, my answer doesn't make sense to them. So I typically end up giving the scholarship answer, which hopefully gets me the money I need to stay in school. I don't see enough black women on stage, screen, or TV, so I want to be the me I never get to see. Representation, shared human experience, dismantling, healing generational trauma, systemic change. All the big words I know artfully arranged. I want to be a conduit to shared human experience. Translated? Put the grant in the bag so I know you're hearing it. I'm broke and I just want this money, but if I told them that, I'd be out on my ass so fast it wouldn't be funny. Let's talk about history. Oh, and method. I know what she gonna like and what she'll really invest in. Shakespeare, Arthur Miller, Samuel Beckett. Waiting for Godot. Acting has theory people really don't know. Stanislavski, Meisner, a little bit of Chekhov. Oh, yeah. she gonna write that check off. Theater teaches empathy. It's built into the recipe. A dash of compassion, a hint of respect. I'm cooking up a scholarship. The money's coming next. I know the winning answer, what I gotta say to show 'em I deserve it all. I'm gonna graduate. I want to be a conduit to shared human experience. Translated? I've been here 5 years. I'm sick of this shit, period. I give the scholarship answer, and I know what's right. 'Cause the next question's always, well, what can theater do in my life? Now, this is where I excel. First, flip the question to make them feel guilty, then spout your accomplishments. Well, the way I see it, theater isn't necessarily about you or I, but oftentimes it's about the broader world. For example, in the summer of my sophomore year, I volunteered in Ethiopia with a nonprofit that taught English to kids using the arts. The program was kind of like if Peace Corps and Sesame Street had a musical love child. Now, if you want to be a pro at getting scholarship money from your school, you'll go from the macro to the micro. Talk about your worldly experience, then bring it on home to what you've done right here on campus. What else? Well, after Dr. Larry Nasser was found guilty of assaulting all those women here at Michigan State, I decided I wanted my Spartan footprint to be used in advocating for student rights. Do you remember that one protest in front of the Rock 3 years ago? Everyone was wearing teal blue. Hey, hey, ho, ho, Dr. Nasser's got to go. I did some slam poetry that really got the crowd going. Dues are paid throughout the semester to an institution that won't even bother to remember us when we're gone. To an institution that criticizes us when we don't speak out and shames us when we duly noted. They say listening only long enough to claim our concerns were heard. Oh, that protest made you miss your dentist appointment? Well, I'm terribly sorry that happened. No, I don't have anywhere to be anytime soon. I was disenrolled from my classes after all. Oh, got it. Your 3:30 appointment will be here soon. Damn it. I would have had her if I hadn't mentioned that protest thing. I should have displayed my trauma more. If there's anything institutions of higher education love more than a token black student succeeding, it's a token black student who overcame struggle to succeed. Where's my list of everything bad that may or may not have happened to me since the moment I was born? 1. I was born March 8th, which makes me a Pisces, so I'm very emotional and sad, hence me being an artist. 2. My mom is not from this country. 3. I grew up in Detroit. Yes, Detroit, Michigan, boo. 4. When I was 10, my dad was laid off from his job at General Motors after working there for 9 years. 5. I have asthma. 6. I'm a woman. 7. I'm black. So, y'all, it's actually not that traumatic. I honestly get tired of pimping my pain for money, putting everything on display so I can afford to go to school. Now, I know what you're thinking. Camille, you're a theater major. Why does school mean so much to you? Why don't you just move to New York and start your career? Because education, capital E, is my family's thing. The only 3 choices I ever had were 1, go to college and get out, 2, go to the military and get out, 3, or just plain get out. It's always been college for my family. My great-grandmother, Mildred Smith, had her bachelor's, master's, and doctorate of religious education. My grandmother, Barbara Thomas, had her bachelor's and her master's in education. My dad has an associate degree, bachelor's, and got his master's when I was 15. And when my mom finishes her degree, he plans on going for his PhD. And my mother? Oh, my mommy is a bad bitch. She came from Jamaica, when she was 18 to do two things. One, take care of her younger cousin. Two, go to college. And she did both of those things excellently. She has her bachelor's, got her master's when I was 12, and is working on her doctorate of health administration. Yeah, she's gonna be Dr. Celia Thomas. So yes, education is my family's thing. It's my job to increase the generational wealth of my family, and I'm failing. My parents smashed their glass ceilings and used the shards to build me a floor. They created a platform for me to stand on that was miles above what they started with. They equipped me with all the tools I would ever need to keep building bigger and higher for my children. But here I am, tools in hand, with nothing to show for it. I always thought educational advancement equals financial security. But after reading Ta-Nehisi Coates' A Case for Reparations my sophomore year, I learned that the average black family would need 228 years to build the wealth of a white family today. Without significant policy changes or interventions or a seismic shift in the American economy, people of color will never close the gap. So, picture this. About 10 years from now, it's 2030. Google Glasses are a mainstream product. Students sit in classrooms and record lectures using a microcamera inserted in their glasses frame. They'll be able to capture images with the blink of an eye, and yet still claim they don't see color. And there will still be a racial wealth gap. It's 2040. Driverless cars, buses, and subways are commonplace. Road rage is a symptom of the past. Driving is finally a special skill under the special skills section of my resume. We have the Internet of Things in our homes. The fridge is able to speak with the stove to recommend what meals you should make based upon the health recommendations sent from your doctor to your Apple Watch. The cupboard is titillated when you finally decide to stock it with more than just salt and pepper as seasoning, and your toilet will tell you to lay off all the foreign spices because your body just isn't used to all that excitement yet, and there still will be a racial wealth gap. It's 2060. We've bioengineered mosquitoes that don't bite, but are still fully functioning parts of our ecosystem. And congratulations, we've saved all the bees everywhere. The driverless cars now float a few feet off the ground, eliminating the need to constantly repair the streets. Potholes are urban myths. In 2060, kidneys don't need to be donated, and those students with the Google Glasses, which are now Google Eyes, are able to drink for weeks straight because when their livers finally give up the fight against alcohol and drown during tailgate season, everyone will be okay because we have fully functioning printable 3D organs, and there will still be a racial wealth gap. Another 50 years pass, and it's 2110. Want to learn how to do a backflip but don't want to practice? In 2110, you can buy skills in the App Store and download them into your body. Run like Usain Bolt, swim like Michael Phelps, flip like Simone Biles. It's all there for only $2.99. I removed driving from my special skills on my resume. We haven't yet achieved time travel, but we do have the iPhone Infinity X Lite. Siri is a hologram with the ability to walk you down the aisle, doubles as your best man who wrote the most heartfelt speech, and also caught the bouquet. Oh no! Siri had one too many drinks at the open bar. In 2110, all weddings have open bars. They stumble, falling flat on their glass screen. Everyone holds their breath, just knowing this is the end. But the iPhone Infinity X Lite is durable. No more broken glass screens ever. It only took us 90 years to get here, and we still have the racial wealth gap. It's 2249. 228 years have passed, and my family has a chance. For the past 3 generations, education has always been my family's thing because it always had to be. For the next 228 years, it may still have to be. And here I am, damn near a college dropout, letting everyone down. I should have changed my major from theater to something more stable after reading The Case for Reparations. Another section that stood out to me the most was, as a rule, poor black people do not work their way out of the ghetto, and those who do often face the horror of watching their children and grandchildren tumble back. And then I spiraled. Poor black people do not work their way out of the ghetto, and those who do often face the horror of watching their children and grandchildren tumble back. In 2013, the poverty rate among white Americans was 9.6%. Among black Americans, it was 27.2%. Not only that, according to a federal study, about 60% of black children whose parents had income that fell into the top 50% saw their own income fall into the bottom half during adulthood. 7 out of 10 black children who are born to families with income that falls in the middle quintile of the income spectrum will find themselves with income that's 1 to 2 quintiles below their parents during their own adulthood. Quintile? Siri, what's quintile?
A quintile is a statistical value of data set that represents 20% of a given population. Politicians invoke quintiles to illustrate the need for policy change.
And then I spiraled. Siri, how much money do theater majors make?
LOL. Hee hee.
Fuck you, Siri.
I'm just easily amused.
By this time, in my theater classes, we'd learned all about Stanislavski and his circles of attention. It actually ended up being one of the most useful things I'd learned in school, and it functioned as a self-soothing technique for me during moments like this when I would have panic attacks. And then I spiraled. Poor black people do not during work moments their way like this when I would have, and those who do often face the horror of watching their during children moments like this when I would have tumbled back. I spiraled. I imagined myself on a pitch black stage. Suddenly, a spotlight is turned on. Once you enter the light, you are isolated. Nothing exists out of it except an empty blackness. In the smallest circle, an actor can create public solitude, a condition that focuses the actor within themselves. In the second circle, the actor might be aware of the character they are addressing. That always helped to bring me back down. Policy change. Even as a sophomore, I knew the type of policy change that needed to happen wouldn't take place in enough time to affect my college career. And if I couldn't change policy, I could change my major. Even though my major taught me skills to cope with my anxiety attacks, the goal was to not have the attacks in the first place. And if switching my major would ensure a new stability, then that's what I would do. Sophomore year was a big year. Along with reading The Case for Reparations, it was also the year I started feeling how expensive school could be. Freshman year was paid for with scholarships, but sophomore year, I began to feel guilty once I started doing the math to see how much money I needed to beg, borrow, and steal to get through undergrad. And I knew I would never make that much back as a theater major. I saw how selfish it was to study the arts, how whimsical it was for me to dress up in costumes when the invisible chains of systemic racism still sat closer than any corset I'd ever worn in my classical acting class. There were so many skills I should have been learning instead. My dad's favorite one to remind me of was computer programming. He wanted me to learn coding because it was, he felt, A far more valuable language than any Shakespearean text I could spit out. What means this lady? I left no ring with her. Oh, happy horse to bear the weight of Antony. Set your heart at rest. The fairy land buys not the child of me. I was raised by practical parents, and here I was trying to play with the fairies. My rhythm was Shakespeare's iambic pentameter. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Unstressed, stressed, unstressed, stressed. My dad's was algorithms, a list of steps to finish a task. His algorithm for me was organize, prioritize, designate, eliminate. My algorithm for myself was unstressed, stressed, unstressed, stressed. After reading A Case for Reparations, I knew I didn't have any more time to be whimsical. Organize, prioritize, designate, eliminate, versus unstressed, stressed, unstressed, stressed. I should have stopped being selfish then. Organize, which translated to get yourself in order. I knew the data, and I didn't want to be a disappointment anymore. I needed to compartmentalize what I wanted for the well-being of my future children and their children. Unstressed. Prioritize. Generational responsibility over personal reward. 4 years of undergrad, 2 to 3 years of grad school, PhD. Stressed. Designate yourself to your new position. Journalism major, human bio, communications, pre-med, anthropology, sociology, marketing, public relations, accounting. Unstressed, stressed, unstressed. Eliminate. Nikki, I am stressed. I can't sleep. I'm not eating. And you, my lovely, lovely academic counselor, can help all of this craziness go away. So, I know I'm a senior, but I need to change my major. Oh. If I can't change my major, then I need to drop either the theater degree or the arts and humanities degree so I can graduate in May. So, what are my options? No, I'm not doing a 6th year. I already didn't want to do a 5th because I don't have the money to pay for all my classes this semester, so I need to drop the ones required for theater and only take the ones I need to graduate with my arts and humanities degree. 10 credits? Okay, I can do that. How much money will that be? $5,500. Ooh, bitch, I can't breathe. Nikki, that hurts me. I know. I should have come in last semester to make sure everything was okay, but I didn't think this was going to happen to me. I usually work over summers, but this summer I was at an acting apprenticeship at Williamstown, and I had to pay for that too. I had to pay $4,200 for that, people. Well, I paid for some of it using my credit card, and before that, I was just figuring it out one semester at a time. Y'all, I was honestly too embarrassed to tell her I typically use my credit card to pay for school and then pay as much of it off as I can before next semester. I've been paying for school since before I knew I was paying for school. My first credit card purchase was in August of 2014, and it was $869 at Best Buy for a laptop for college, and it's pretty much been more of the same since then. Obviously, I'm not perfect. 2015 was my first year of college, and yes, I did go a little crazy. I spent more money shopping than I did on education. But students shouldn't be required to have financial perfection in order to afford school. In 2016, my purchases for merchandise stayed at around the same $900 range. I'm consistent with my spending habits. But my education expenses rose exponentially. from $900 to $4,789 in 1 year. I thought about killing myself to collect the insurance money, but that still wouldn't have been enough. What the fuck? Nikki, I didn't have any other choices. It was either overdraft, I'm wrecked, these bills unchecked. If I could talk to little me, I doubt could call collect. Camille, remember freshman year? You talked about your goals, how you'd one day make it here. Call, drop, disconnect, or loans up next. Standing here asking for just one more check. Mark, she passed grades at the top of her class. A's don't matter, you can't pay what they asked. That makes me feel like I can't breathe, like I'm drowning and I'm 20,000 leagues under the sea. Overcharged, I'm pressed. Sweating, shirt wet. If I could do it all again, I think. In retrospect, Nikki, I think figuring it out one semester at a time wasn't the best idea, but it has been working for me. I made it this far, haven't I? If this were the 60s, that $5,000 for my one semester would have been enough to pay for my entire college career. Y'all, I mean, if my people weren't too busy protesting at lunch counters, but that's a show for another day. Nikki, I'm already working in the CAF's HR office 26 hours a week. Don't you have any money for super seniors so we can just hurry up and get out of here? Folks, I've actually learned more about acting in my advisor's office than I ever did in any of my classes. My super objective is to graduate college this May. Therefore, my objective here is to get my advisor to find me some money to pay my tuition bill. Tactic: to impress. Did I mention, before I was removed from my classes, I was tapped by the College of Arts and Letters to be the graduation speaker? I know! The Arts and Humanities Department has never had a graduation speaker. People, it usually goes to those highfalutin English majors with their 4-syllable words. New tactic: to guilt. I mean, if you hadn't convinced me sophomore year to continue double majoring, I wouldn't be in this predicament in the first place. Tactic change: to evoke pity. My whole family is coming to my graduation. My great-grandma from Jamaica, who's afraid of planes, is planning on coming. I'm lying. Well, she is actually afraid of planes, and that's why she's not coming to my graduation. The only thing she's ever wanted was to see someone in her family graduate from college. Technically, not a lie. I mean, she already saw my mom and my auntie graduate, but that doesn't mean she also doesn't want to see me graduate, too. New tactic: to gas up. Have I ever told you that you're so much more accommodating than my other advisor? Yeah, all of the theater majors are jealous of how much you do for your students. You work so hard for us. You even held an after-hours advising session just for me. You're just so magnanimous. Ha! I read plays. English majors aren't the only people who know 4-syllable words. You're just so wise and talented and giving. Too much? New tactic: to seduce? Nah. To beseech. Nikki. The summer after my sophomore year, I was a part-time student. I took 9 credits because I couldn't afford to be a full-time student. That set me back and is another reason why I'm stuck as a 5th year. I thought I was saving money 3 years ago, but who knew it would cost me $7,000 more in the future? That's how much I need to pay for my last semester of school. My parents didn't want me to apply for a Parent Plus loan because they're still paying off their student debt. I finally convinced them to sign for one, which makes me feel ashamed that I had to lean on them that way. I wish I didn't have to burden my mom like that. We finally applied for one and we got denied. So I applied for a personal loan from a bank, but who knows if that's going to get approved. My mom said she'd be my co-signer, so that helps. Did you know in 1996, when I was born, the average student debt was $12,750? That was it for the entire 4 years of college. My one semester is $7,000. I thought this degree would be my life jacket and buoy me to safer shores, but it feels more like an anchor. I'm drowning, and I don't know what else to do about it. That always helped to bring me back down. I was at an advising appointment. Yes, but in Monday's rehearsal report, it said I would be called from 8 to 10. Thursdays didn't come out until 2 a.m. No, I wasn't awake. I saw the timestamp when I looked at it at 8 a.m. I've had that appointment scheduled since last week. I haven't had the time to go to any of her usual office hours because of work and class. I specifically set this one up so I could go before I was called. I'll be a student again soon, and my only priority is to graduate. Is Ray still in the costume shop? Rehearsal's over, so I'll just stop by and sign up now. Yeah, okay, whatever. Hey, Ray. I needed to speak with you, and having to go between Gabby wasn't working for me. The costume fittings only go out 24 hours in advance. Even if I wasn't protesting from 8 to 5 every day, that's still not enough time for students to adjust their schedules, especially if they work. Excuse me? Work less? Doesn't you know I'm a Jamaican? National motto, out of many one people. A little island, but we work like we're many in one person. We don't know how to work less. The meaning of the words clearly got lost in translation when it left the ivory tower of her lips to meet me here on the ground below, because all I heard was privilege. Work less. Hard in the class, a bit difficult to do when I've had to teach some professors about black playwrights. One didn't even know who Dominique Morisseau was. And this was after she had written Pipeline, Skeleton Crew, Detroit 67, Blood at the Root, Ain't Too Proud, and won the Genius Grant. I've designed more syllabi on racial sensitivity, organized more workshops, and if I get asked to teach one more student how to hip-hop dance, you know what? Run me my tenure, because at this point, emotional labor is its own 3-credit class. And I did not ask to be a professor. But if she wants, I can pull out my resume and show her every other job I've worked since 10th grade. Day camp counselor, regular camp counselor, law firm intern, nonprofit intern, facilities, museum guide, research assistant, conference assistant, a standardized test patient, an app promoter, and finally the creme de la creme of jobs, a level 3 human resource assistant generalist where I had level 1s and 2s beneath me working 26 hours a week. It was barely enough to keep me afloat. I worked every Saturday for 2 years from 8 to 6. I wish I had told her, tuitions rise, salaries don't. I can be irie, but don't let the nonchalant attitude fool you. I could have said, you so old, you knew Burger King when he was just a prince. No, you so old that you didn't have to worry about learning history because you was there when it happened. No. You so old when you went to college, you could work a minimum wage job and afford to pay for school. Oh! Today, a student would need to work full-time for over 53 weeks at the federal minimum wage to pay for the average tuition. There are only 52 weeks in a year, but who needs 52 weeks when some people have had a 400-year advantage? Work less. Oh, what she really meant to say was skip a few meals, don't go grocery shopping, who needs to eat, get sick from malnutrition, drop out of school, disgrace my family name, ruin any chance of building generational wealth. All synonyms, basically, for work less. Listen, Ray. I have a scholarship application to finish and work in the morning. Could you just sign me up for the Monday slot at 9:10? People, my people. Do you know what app I hate more than any other app in the whole entire app store? Scully. My mom thought it was so clever that the app had a puppy for the icon. She said, "Look, Picnic, it's a dog. The dog will help you search for scholarships." That damn dog hasn't done a motherfucking thing for me. Step 1. Create your profile. Step 2. Use Scholarly Editor. Step 3. Write essays until your hands are sore. Step 4. Submit essays. Step 5. Nervously email the various scholarship committees to see if they received your application. Dear application team, I am inquiring to see if you received my submission. To whom it may concern, I just wanted to reach out and inform you that my essay was turned in. Hello, scholarship family, crew, adjudicators. My application was, what's another synonym for submit? Given to you, placed in your inbox, completed through the website portal. Submitted several weeks ago, and I am curious to know if you perused my essay. I know that you have received a massive amount of applicants, and I just wanted to be sure that mine was received. Have a wonderful day! Exclamation point. Sincerely, comma, Camille Thomas. Enter she, her, hers. So they know I'm progressive. Send! Step 6. Refresh email. Step 7. Refresh email on phone. Step 8. Check spam. Step 9. Repeat steps 6 through 8 several times. Step 10. Call mom and ask her if she will still love you if you are a college dropout. Step 11. Hear her ask about Scully. Step 12. Hang up and apply for something different. Essay number 5 of the week. The American Fire Sprinkler Association Scholarship, created to educate the public at large about the life-saving properties of automatic fire sprinklers. Automatic fire sprinklers create a heightened sense of safety in our communities. I have been emotionally affected by uncontrollable fires before. In season 2 of This Is Us, my favorite character Jack died in a fire, which may have been prevented if there was only an automatic fire sprinkler present. Essay number 9, Chick and Sophie Major Memorial Duck Calling Contest. Sent. Essay number 12, Disabled Person Inc. Scholarship. Is asthma a disability? Yes.
Hey, Camille, it's Jody. I'm just calling to find out if you're still coming in today. I have you down for 8 o'clock, and there's nobody here yet. You, Carly, and Emily at 8. Give me a call and let me know. Call my cell phone. I'm in training today, 517-449-5266. Thanks. Bye.
Hey, y'all. Sorry, I'm late. I stayed up all night working on scholarships. I actually wrote one about the power of unions. And listen, I honestly think we should unionize. There's no reason why we need 3 employees here at 8 a.m. every single Saturday. And we want $15 an hour. I think I'm being punished. This is karma, y'all. I started my life of petty crime in a cafeteria, And now I'm forced to work here, in this calf, paying off my debt forever. Did you know you can eat on campus for free? It wasn't illegal at first. It was the summer before sophomore year, and I worked as a summer camp assistant. And while the job advertised free room and board, they forgot to mention that we only got to eat when the camps were in session. So let me set the scene for y'all. It was hot. The middle of a Michigan summer. And we hadn't had camp in 2 weeks, which means we weren't getting paid, and we weren't getting to eat. I was laid out on a bench, trying to preserve my energy, when I first heard footsteps, a shadow. Then his body sidled up to me. "What?" he smirked. "Marcus, what? It's too hot for me to be trying to translate your smile." His grin only grew. "You want to eat?" That sounds nasty, but I guess you can stay a while. He goes into his backpack and pulls out 2 cafeteria uniform shirts, showing them off like he won something. "It's a shirt. Did you even wash those things?" He turns, puts the shirts back into his bag, and gets ready to go. "So sensitive. I was joking. Come on, tell me what you want me to know." He hits me with a grin, lowers his voice. "We're gonna sneak into the caf, put the shirt on, and matching black pants. Meet me here in 10. And he jauntily walks away. I am aghast. I am moral. I am a good Christian girl. But I am also hungry, so I do what he says. He struts, and I scurry towards the cafeteria in our stolen uniform shirts. Nobody stops us. Then we head towards the bathrooms to change into our civilian clothes. We walk out completely different people, and nobody knows a thing. I think I like how crime feels. No, but seriously, we ate like kings for weeks. Cafeteria Robin Hoods we would take from the rich and give to our co-workers. And when that got old, Marcus just devised another scheme. Y'all, I realized that I just needed another scheme. I needed a hustle. So that's what I did. Hey, Bridget, yeah. I love the Lansing State Journal article, but could you just reiterate the fact that as of now, I have no further actions planned? I just want to have enough money to graduate in May. Yeah, thank you. That sounds great. All right, I gotta go. Hi, Dr. Parker. I'd be honored to help start a family for some deserving couple who can't. How does the whole egg extraction process work? You do take black girl eggs, right? And you paid the full price for them? Oh, perfect. I checked the requirements and I have a healthy BMI. I'm 22 and I have never been on the next Flannon birth control. Sure, I don't mind if you verify my height and weight. I'm 5'6". Yes, I'm aware that I'm 169 pounds. Overweight? Trust me, it's all thigh meat. I'm healthy. I'll have you know that I am an actor, and these are going to be Tony Award-winning eggs, so you better hop on the train right now. I don't have time to lose 20 pounds and come back. Fine. Just know that you're robbing some poor couple of the chance to have a baby. Folks, scheming for food isn't as fun when you're alone. With Marcus, we were the Ocean's 11 of our college campus. But what was a game with 2 people is just lonely and miserable with one. In hindsight, that was actually a crazy idea. If we'd gotten caught, we could have been fired or worse. But college makes you do a lot of things that don't make sense. It'll have you walking to class with your eyes closed so you can get a few more minutes of sleep in. Pre-gaming shots while you study because you told your friends you'd go out with them tonight even though you have an exam tomorrow, and emailing your professor in the club at 1 a.m. because you now need an extension on the paper you waited until the last minute to do. Riding the bus an hour to a food pantry was another thing that didn't make sense. I wasn't poor. I had a job, and I had money for groceries. But in my mind, I reasoned that if I could start saving the $30 a week I spent on groceries, then I could use that money to pay my outstanding tuition balance. Logically, I knew that saving an extra $120 a month was not going to pay my overdue bill, but I was determined to do something. Anything. I rode the 96 bus from campus to deep into Lansing and hopped off in front of a shelter that ran a food pantry Saturday evenings. Standing in that line, I was furious. And even more than that, I was ashamed. I didn't know what was lower at that point, my bank account or my self-esteem. Was this going to be the rest of my life? Did I waste my money getting a degree in theater to end up here, in line at a food pantry? I pulled out my Trader Joe's shopping bag so if anyone saw me on the bus on the way back, they wouldn't know where I'd been. When I stood in line, I pointed at what I wanted. Red apples, rice, canned pork, and shook my head at what I didn't. I didn't speak to the volunteers because I didn't want any parts of myself left behind in this shelter. Not even my voice, because I didn't intend on ever falling this low again.
Next stop, Vanderbilt Avenue and Bergen Street. Transfer available to B65. This stop is Vanderbilt Avenue and Bergen Street.
This is PNC Bank calling regarding your application. We have some good news for you. If you can give us a call back at 855-619-6660.
Hi, Camille. This is your grandmother. I'm calling on Friday, May the 10th, and it's about 8:45 a.m. Please call Grandma. I want to ask you a few questions about the date that you're leaving and some other things. Give me a call. Call me on my house phone at 248-661-3631. That's 248-661-3631. Bye.
Oh, dearest audience. Is there a word to express dread and relief at the same time? Because I've gotten very familiar with this feeling. It's the liminal space between making my GoFundMe and getting my first donation, or the moment I finally decided to drop out of my last performance senior year. I was tired of being patronized, and I knew there'd always be another stage. Or taking out an additional $7,000 loan in order to re-enroll in your classes. Or graduating college with a degree in theater. I did it! But now I gotta do it. Or writing a show to admit that one GoFundMe campaign, $8,000 in credit card debt, an additional last-minute $7,000 loan, and one long-ignored Sally Mae account later, you still haven't gotten your degrees. I feel like a fraud. My entire family came to my graduation with balloons and made a lot of noise when I walked across the stage. I love being clapped for on stages. And even though I was able to finish all my classes and move to New York, I still owe my school $1,800, which I pay $100 a month on until I officially get my degree and can finally declare myself a college graduate.
Okay, we're going to start this again. You know who I am, Judy Tate, the producing artistic director of the American Slavery Project. And of course, we want to thank you for being so patient with us. It's the world we live in. You know, the tech stuff is here, and then sometimes it's not here. Tonight, the tech goddesses were not with us for about a half an hour, but now they are. And we've got some really interesting people for you tonight on our panel. We've got the playwright Camille Thomas, who's going to be able to talk with us. You'll be able to ask questions by putting them in the chat. And we have McTate Stroman, who is a poet and spoken word artist and has some wonderful kind of gatherings. But he also happens to be a college financial aid advisor. And so we thought he was perfect to be on our panel. And last but certainly not least, we have Dorothy A. Brown. She is the Asa Griggs Candler Professor of Law at Emory University and the author of a book, The Whiteness of Wealth, which will be released on March 23rd. So especially after you hear her talk, I know you're going to want to run out and buy this book. And as I said before, you can put questions in the chat. But I'd actually like to start with you, Camille, since this is your baby. By the way, that was not Camille's voice. Camille is the playwright. That was Lynette R. Freeman, who is a longtime member of the ASP family. And she is a wonderful, wonderful actor. And we were so glad that she could lend her talents to Camille's wonderful work. So I wanted to ask you, Camille, of course, the obvious question. Is this true? Why did you write this?
This is a fairly autobiographical play. There were a couple of things. I never tried to sell my eggs, but I just wrote it because I was so frustrated with how much money I owed after graduating. And I was so frustrated with everything that happened my 5th year of college. I was actually, well, I wasn't disenrolled, but I was at risk of being disenrolled from my classes because I owed about $7,000. And I was like, oh my goodness, like this is my last semester of school. I just need these $7,000 some way, somehow. So just the whole process of trying to pay for school and struggling to pay for school and hustling to pay for school is really what made this show happen.
Oh, it's too bad you didn't know McTate.
Right?
Who we're going to go to next. This was, to me, directing it and, of course, watching it tonight with the wonderful visual score and sound score by Stochastic Artworks. That's Simone Barros. I was really taken with this sense of people starving on college campuses. I was blown away. McTate, is this something that you've run into? Did you find things in this piece relatable, accurate?
Yes, I did. Unfortunately. We deal with a lot of students feeling like they can't eat, let alone pay for classes. One of the big things, I work for a community college, and I'm a big proponent of community colleges. And one of the big senses that we look at education and find out what it is that we really want out of an education and help parents as well as the students recognize that it doesn't mean that you failed because you started at a community college. It's sad that I even have to go there with that. But if finances isn't an issue, then looking at taking those first 2 years at a community college, because it's the same 2 years, if you're taking on that 4-year route and you're looking to get your bachelor's degree, those same 2 years at a community college, then you transfer in, and then you can start looking at state grants. I will say this, first and foremost, California, we're very fortunate. I was doing some research for this and saw that, for us, we have fee waivers. So many of our students are eligible for a fee waiver, let alone the fact that our units are only $46 per unit, where some other states, we're looking at upwards of $266 per unit. And this is even at a community college level, And like I said, at California, we have a fee waiver, so we waive those fees. And then on top of that, a student can get, a grant. And the biggest thing that I like to let students know is, first off, understand that anytime you hear the word grant, that means funds you do not have to pay back. Okay.
Do you find that a lot of your students are just unaware of, I think, oh, that's normal language, but a lot of young people are unaware of these differences.
Totally unaware. And I do not look at it any other way than helping them see this, and like I said, I like to quell the confusion, and they're totally unaware. So my thing is to make sure that I educate them on the front end, not just them, but their parents. Each state typically will also have a grant. So we have a federal grant, which is a Pell Grant, and then we also have a state grant. And I looked, Michigan has their own state grant. New York has its own state grant. But also when you fill out the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, I say that because anytime that you accidentally go onto the wrong site and they ask you for money, you're on the wrong site because free is in the name. So what you do is you make sure that you fill that out by March 2nd each year. By doing it by March 2nd makes you eligible for the state aid. Okay. In some states like Michigan, you get an extra button once you finish the application that says now you can apply for this grant for the state.
If you miss March 2, can you still fill it out?
If you miss March 2nd, yes, you can still fill it out. As I stated, it's only the deadline for the state grant. There's still a federal grant. And then if you are going to a community college, then the date is pushed. It has a different date. But this is so that if you're going to a university, they try to let you know about the deadline for, the most money that you can receive. So it's good to know this. And then also state grants are also merit-based. So not only your enrollment, so if you're a freshman versus a senior, you get less as a freshman, you get more the longer you've been in school. Also, your grade. So if students know this, which many don't, and when I went to school, I didn't even know this. When I transferred into the University of San Jose State University and got extra money, I was like, where did this come from? But if I would have known, then one, that could have, been a reason why I boosted my GPA for a certain reason, knowing that now that I'm a junior, I'm gonna get this X amount. So knowing, as they say, is half the battle, that parents and students know ahead of time, because I come from a background of working in mortgage banking. I was the early 2000s, so I know what predatory lending looks like. And school shouldn't even fall under that,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Wow, that's really amazing. Predatory lending. We'll have to come back around to that.
Right.
I love having you here, McTate, because Camille's in her play, she addressed the small things, like just trying to figure out what grants, loans, whatever can get, and she addressed the larger policy issues after you had read Ta-Nehisi Coates' article about reparations. And that is exactly what Dorothy, may I call you Dorothy?
Sure.
Okay, that's exactly what Dorothy deals with in the book, The Whiteness of Wealth. You talk to the policy that's in place. And of course, like Camille was saying, I can't change policy, so I better drop my major, right? Or see McTate for how to get through this. But can you talk a little bit about these policy, changes?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So, one of the things that struck me by watching the documentary was how difficult it was for Camille to persevere and graduate. But what she had to rely on were her parents, who also went to college, and her forebears who went to college. So she wasn't first generation, and in a lot of instances that really helped propel her to persevere. One of the statistics that I came across when I was writing my book that made me want to stop writing the book was the fact that 60% of Black college students do not graduate. The majority of Black students who go to college do not graduate.
Wow.
So that blew me away. So Camille graduating, any Black college graduate has a level of privilege that some of us, I certainly did, took for granted. So of course I was going to go to college. My mother's a nurse, my father's a plumber, but they told us, we were going to college. And I graduated and I didn't think anything of it. But the research shows 60% don't. Financial aid is one of the big reasons why people don't. They can't afford it. Food insecurity is a big deal across college campuses. So her struggle really resonated with some of the themes in my book. With the big picture theme is white and Black Americans engage in the same behavior, college, but have completely different experiences. So just like I said, 60% of Black college students don't graduate. What's the number for white students? 40%. The majority of white kids who go to college graduate. Okay, so we already see a difference. Then there's a question of Black college students leave sometimes without a degree, well, obviously most of the time without a degree, but with a lot of debt. And the whole key behind going into debt to pay for college is so that when you graduate, you get a higher paying job that will enable you to pay off the loans. Well, if you drop out, there's no degree. So there's no higher paying job you can get.
Right. Yes.
So, we are disadvantaged from day one, even when we are pursuing the American dream.
Well, there's that whole section about the racial wealth gap and where we as a society and a technological culture will be in, 158 more years, Camille?
I think it was
that year.
Yeah.
that you finally have a chance.
And right? I will say the racial wealth gap increases as education increases. So if you compare white college grads and black college grads, the racial wealth gap is higher than if you're comparing high school grads from college. It gets worse as we get more education.
And you know, it reminds me of the fact that the Obamas were the first and only couple to enter the White House who actually had college debt and law school debt.
But shortly thereafter, or right before, they paid it off. But it was a miracle that they paid it off. They were only able to pay off their student debt when he got $1 million book deal. They had $120,000 of student debt, and they were in financial trouble. I know this because their tax returns are public. I'm a tax law professor. I have studied their tax returns from beginning to end. It was a miracle that they paid off their student loans. And the miracle was he gave that DNC speech, his publisher reissued the paperback, and then he got a $1 million book deal.
Well, you know what, Dorothy and McTate and Camille, you know, this says to me that age-old saying that you have to be twice as good. As a black person, you have
half as much,
right, to get half as far. And so, Camille, I guess you're working on your $1 million book deal and your DNC speech because
her Netflix deal. She's working on her Netflix deal. Okay, Camille.
Yeah, when you talk about it in black and white and in numbers like that we are 60% of our students are not graduating, and they've got these kinds of financial issues, and everybody in the country does. And you know what they say, when America has a cold, the black community gets a flu. Right? And I suppose in a way that explains those numbers. 60% of us can't make it through, where 60% of a white student body will manage to
graduate.
Make it through. Wow. And have you, what kind of policy changes? Because one of the things about your book is that you actually have
solutions.
Most people complain, but most people don't have the background that you do, and it's so amazing that you have written this book. What are some of the suggested policy changes you recommend?
So one policy change I recommend is to expand the Pell Grants. So the Pell Grants have not kept up with inflation. They have not kept up with the cost of college. So I suggest we expand the Pell Grants so that they actually pay for the cost of college. And I propose we pay for that by taxing the wealthy private institutions with billion-dollar endowments. So if we tax those institutions who are getting the benefit of this huge tax subsidy, when they're not opening their doors to lots of low-income or Black students. So you want to pay for the privilege of being predominantly white? Okay, we're going to tax you. And then we're going to fully fund Pell Grants so that people can graduate college without debt.
So that they can get, because you were talking about that, McTate, right? So they can get the Pell Grants, they can maybe start at their 2-year community college. I happen to be a big fan of community college. My husband works in community college, and it is very much like that show. It is so many different kinds of people. It's so diverse, so multicultural. There are people coming back to school. There are people just graduating. There are working pharmacists trying to, there's just so many. It's a wonderful system that we have here. Let's support it, make use of it, and then allow those Pell Grants to get people on their way and actually pay for college as it costs today.
That's right.
That's wonderful. Camille, I want to know what questions you have Oh, wait a minute. We've got questions from the chat. McTate, is the info that you're sharing available to high school guidance counselors? I think we have a high school guidance counselor in the audience. If so, where is the disconnect?
Wonderful. Many times the disconnect is just in that information, because I meet with high school counselors. I do a lot of presentations at schools. I've been doing some on Zoom, and it's just really getting that information out there, because I'm a father, first and foremost. I went back to school, so I'm always thinking outside the box, and like I said, if I would have known what I know today, I wouldn't have any debt based on college, and the reality is understanding certain things. We also just passed a bill where we're no longer having individuals do a placement test. So you can go in at college level, because that was an issue. When I first started community college, it was saying that it would take typically 6 years on average to complete a 2-year degree, and one of the biggest issues was having those remedial courses, and me going back to school, I'll just say for myself, when it came to math, I had to take one of those courses. And then I remember transferring to another college, community college, and had a counselor ask me, are you afraid of math? It's like, no, and he went ahead and pushed me into a college level math course. And so now everyone is having that same opportunity to, rechange that, where the school has so much money. We have thousands of dollars for special programs, and those are to help students with tutoring. We have the Emoja program for African American students, the Elase program for Latinx students. We have FYE, first year experience. So there's so many programs, that's why I really enjoy working with the community college, because we have all of these resources, to really help these students to get through. If we have to hold your hand to help you understand, because there is a disconnect. The real disconnect is when you're in high school and your guidance counselor and everyone is pushing, and on the PA system, what school everyone is going to, you feel bad if you're not going to an Ivy League school, or, maybe it's Berkeley or whatever. That's the disconnect, where you think it's almost like I said, I come from a finance background. So yeah, you want to get in that fast car and all that, but maybe you need to get, yourself, a used car, or maybe you need to get in this economy class car first, but it's still getting you to where you got to go. Right. But everybody's we need to change our paradigm. I talk with young Black males, and the question was, should I go to school or should I be an entrepreneur? I'm like, dude, that's not an either or, because if you really look at it, if you want to be a young entrepreneur, where are you going to network? It's in college. That's where you network. I ask young people, when you're in high school, let's look at your Instagram. When you're in high school, you had lots of followers. When you left, it fell off, right? Because you weren't around people anymore. But if you're in college, you're around people. You have that network. You can talk to a person that's in graphic design that may take an English course with you, and you can network with him. You guys can build together. You're not going to network anywhere else in life for free like that, except when you're in college. So I like to help them realize this is not a plan A, plan B thing. It's one plan. I study psychology. I never stopped writing. I'm still an artist. What better spoken word artist can you have than one with a degree in psychology that understands emotional intelligence?
Yes.
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
You got to start thinking outside the box and with a different paradigm. I understand.
Let me, we've got like counselors in the audience. And one of the things I thought, and there's another question too for you, Dorothy, but maybe what can we do on a local level? Because listening to McTate just now, I have been thinking, I remember when I put my daughter through school, there was one in her high school, there was one little guidance counselor it was a New York City public school. It was a charter public school, so it was a tiny bit smaller than a regular regular high school, but the poor woman was overwhelmed, and it was really up to us. And, my daughter was very self-starting. She kind of found everything, but it was really up to the kids. But, she had me. What are some of the things that we can do to change, if the policy is, well, you only get one guidance counselor, and the guidance counselor has 150 students to try to get into, college, what can we do? And the second part of the question is, hold on. People are loving you guys. Dorothy, you had some very good suggestions. The 60% statistics was shocking. Do you think African Americans who graduate college have higher accessibility, or is it nullified by all the environmental factors at play?
So the 60% statistic blew me away, okay? And I do this for a living. Literally, I closed the laptop, left the house, and said, I don't think I can finish the book. This is just too depressing. So after a couple of hours of staring at the water, I said, okay, I'll go back home and I'll start again tomorrow, but I can't do anything else tonight. So once you get the degree, that's just the beginning. You then take that degree in a racist labor market. So it's not like you've reached nirvana. Research that I talk about in my book shows that a Black kid who graduates Harvard has to send out more resumes than a white kid who graduates Harvard to get an offer for an interview. And the job that's being offered to interview for is not the job that applied for, but a lower paying job. So, the reason why I titled the book The Whiteness of Wealth is because whiteness attracts wealth. And we can do, we can try to do what they do, but because we're not white, we're still going to deal with a racist labor market, a racist housing market. So what my book talks about is, given the fact of the racism, how do you navigate a racist system that's designed not to build you wealth, but designed to take wealth away from Black Americans?
Yes. Well, this is, we have a lot of stuff to unpack here. I just wanted to interject something. Audience, dear audience, as Camille was saying, peoples, we have our next show, and this actually ties in. It may seem strange, you guys, but it ties in. Our next show, called The Haunted Files, are dramatized characters from the files of the Eugenics Society Records Office. Now, I don't know if everybody knows what eugenics is, but it was the pseudoscience of racial superiority, and it is what gave the underpinnings to the Jim Crow laws, and of course what the Germans studied to take back to Germany, which became the final solution. And a lot of what you were just talking about, Dorothy, are these policies and structures that were put into place in our institutions that are eugenicist structures, right? When
white supremacy.
Yes, white supremacy. And so, I know we have really smart audience members, but I'm always trying to make these connections. Do you know the road, the road has been long, but there's so much more to go to dismantle these structures of white supremacy, that create these labor markets that are so imbalanced. In many urban settings, there are not enough. We talked about the guidance counselors. Also, for so long, we've not embraced the idea that community college can give us a boost towards securing the degree. Someone said, "Preach, Dorothy Brown, preach."
I love it.
Camille, you must love that these two are here to give support and, numbers and everything to what you experienced What's that like for you?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, Dorothy, for finishing your book, because that's one of the issues that I had. I was so concerned and I felt so guilty. I was like, is this me? Did I just do college wrong? Like, why am I having these issues? But to have this data and to have these facts back it up shows that this is an institutional issue and that we need to attack it in an institutional way. Like, as much as my one show, I want to keep showing it and keep showing it to people. If people are not making change on a policy level, then the show will be ineffective.
Or you'll have 100 years of shows to do, right? Because nothing's going to change.
I know. And I was really thinking, I was like, if the best thing that happens is I do this show for 2 years and then somehow policy magically gets changed and this show just becomes obsolete, like that is an ideal circumstance. If I never have to do it again, that would be great, because that means the problem is fixed.
Right.
Yeah. What's your next question, Camille? I happened to, at the point in time that my daughter was graduating, I was working in television, which was kind of an amazing thing because there were not a lot of Black people working in television at that time, right? And it just happened. And I remember the day we were generating a labor action, and she was finishing NYU, and I happened to have TV money in the bank, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm like an artist, so I always know how to batten down the hatches and live on like that much money. And I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to write a huge check to this institution and leave her without debt. And I had no idea what I was. It was like this thing in my mind. I said, she's going to get out of college. I had debt. Right. They were chasing me down for years. I said, I don't want them chasing her. But everybody doesn't have that, blessing, that ability, that little window of opportunity, No,
it's even worse. What research shows is Black college graduates are more likely to send money to their parents. White college graduates are more likely to get money from their parents. So it's even worse. So we graduate, the 40% graduate, we get a good paying job, but our parents who dealt with Jim Crow, who dealt with systemic racism, who didn't have jobs that gave them a retirement account, these Black college graduates are like the only person in their family perhaps making good money. So they're paying for mom, dad, brother, sister, grandparents. So the money is being depleted. So what if they have kids? As I talk about in the book, it pits grandma against grandchild. It's just...
Oh, my goodness. Wow. What other juicy tidbits can we look forward to in your book?
So one of the things, like I said, the book looks at marriage and how white and Black married couples are treated differently under the tax system. White married couples are likely to get a tax cut. Black married couples are not. It looks at home ownership and how white homeowners are more likely to get money out of their homes tax-free. Black homeowners are likely to sell their home at a loss or not a high gain. It looks at college and how white and Black college students and college graduates are treated. It looks at the job market. It looks at what kind of a legacy white families can leave to their children versus Black families. So it basically shows how when we do the exact same thing, this white supremacy takes hold and disadvantages Black Americans at the same time advantaging white Americans. And the structure that I look at are our tax policies, something that people do not associate with race, but it's everywhere. Race is everywhere in taxes. People don't associate it with it, but hopefully after the whiteness of wealth, you all will.
Yes, we certainly will. Camille, what's next for you?
What is next for me? I am taking a class with Columbia University in New York. It's a collaborative class with them and Broadway Advocacy Coalition, and we're looking at prison abolition. So we're doing a project on that. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be open to the public, but we will have a final presentation with like a few invited, activists, policymakers who are coming. And then I'm taking a producing class with theater producers of color. So maybe I can produce wonderful work such as this.
Wonderful. Netflix. Camille's getting a Netflix deal.
Here we go. $1 million. Paying off the debt.
Yes. Well, we will be promoting this heavily. We will be promoting this heavily because I think it's really, really important. I remember from what you're talking about, this isn't taxes exactly, but it's a story that might have been, I cannot remember which one of the books it was in, because I do a lot of research. But, when there were schools in the South for Black children and white children, well, we got schools, we got the schools, you got schools, we got schools. Well, I remember reading this principal of the Black school used to take a lorry and go around back at the end of June to the white school when they were throwing out all of their old textbooks. And he would pick them up and put it on his lorry, and that's what the children in his school would have to learn from. To me, that's just such a metaphor, right? It's really a metaphor for the educational disparities in this country, and we really want people to know about this and to agitate for changes in the tax law, changes in the
how
way
schools are funded,
how the schools are funded. Exactly. And I love that we've got, both of you here for the practical applications. I'm going to end with you, McTate, asking, where did I have that note? Oh, here it is. Do you have any practical advice for students out there that are listening to this? Either one of you.
Yes, I do. I have practical advice. You need to change your paradigm. Very important. And I know this is Women's Month, but the numbers are disparaging for young Black males. And you will see this. I've even saw it with my own son. The way they treat you in high school, okay? And the way that we, and I'm speaking on community colleges right now, we treat you in community colleges are totally different. You are usually, they don't have time for you in high school. They're pushing you through. They don't see your value. Okay. There is money that states that we have to make sure that you succeed. And many times it is the attitude of the young Black male. And I get it that that system is set up for them to fail. We are very fragile. The reason I do the work I do today is because I saw with my own eyes a young student get turned away from the financial aid office based on questions they were asking. We must understand that when students get the grant, okay, our students, this is the most money they've received in their hands at one time, okay? They don't know what to do with this. You can ask a young Black male, how much you want to make a year? You can ask any young Black person how much you want to make a year. They don't really know. We don't always have these conversations with them. They don't know what to make a year. So when you give them $3,000 a semester and you wonder why everyone is going out and buying Beats by Dre, getting concert tickets, opposed to buying a
conversations are not happening?
They're not happening. And mind you, your child is now 18 years old. So as a parent, you're not privy to that information. So you don't know what they're getting. So it stops. So we need to understand that. And also delayed gratification, as we talked about, when the students have responsibilities. Their parents are pushing on them, hey, we need this money and you're going to school. It's going to take you X amount of time before you get your degree. So let alone parents are putting pressure on them on top of themselves, on top of maybe their love interests, because we are all human, but we must understand this delayed gratification and have a respect for that, the process. understand the process. So I say, let's look at our paradigm. Let's look at this, start thinking outside the box and realize that it's not a choice. Should I go to school? Should I start a business? It's an education. You're getting information. Okay. And we need to change our paradigm and what we expect.
Here is to a paradigm shift, a paradigm shift in our thinking about it, in the funding for local schools, and also complete policy changes in the tax code. Camille, you got to keep writing. You're one of the most insightful young, insightful young women I know. I want to plug McTate. He's got a spoken word album. When I say hip hop, it's available on his website, anoriginalbreakbeatpoet.com/music. So you can and you can just Google McTate Stroman II. We really thank you all for coming out. We thank all of our supporters. Please consider donating to ASP so that we can continue creating work that educates, entertains, and illuminates. Thank you for your stalwart efforts to hang in with us while we encountered crazy technical stuff today. But anyone that missed our show tonight, or those who want to rewatch the performance, the talk back, missed the beginning, you can do so on ASP's homepage all month. Same place, same password. Thank you again for everybody's patience. And coming up, I just want to tell you that April 9th at, maybe we will make it 7:30. We might change the time since that's the time we ended up going up anyway. Be sure to check out the Haunted Files. That's the work and the discussion about eugenics and the remnants of eugenics in our society today. And we have two young people from Fordham High School of the Arts who wrote monologues about being immigrants in today's America, because the Eugenics Society was really anti-immigration. It was a huge thing. There was the Asian Exclusion Act. And you might wonder, Asians were not considered, people that should come to this country. They lifted the Asian Exclusion Act, a model minority. So this is an example of policy changing people's experiences and attitudes. So please join us again. That will be directed by Melissa Maxwell, and the work is written by myself and my late partner, Michael Slade, my late writing partner. Great work, they said, and great talk back. Thank you to you all. And that is how I will say goodbye. Thank you, Camille, for sharing this wonderful work with us. You are wiser than your years. Thank you, Dorothy. Thank you, McTate. And thank you from the American Slavery Project.